Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is DLP-Art and Stories, and today I wanted to talk about something that I saw recently in the theater, and it was not a crisp rat, but it might as well have been. I'm going to talk about Jurassic World, Rebirth. I know it's the hot topic, everybody's talking about it, but I wanted to weigh in on it because I have a little bit of a background in dinosaur paleontology, and this movie was by and large disappointing for folks that are in the paleontology field. This is certainly not the film to watch if you want to educate yourself on dinosaurs and the way that they actually were, although there was an attempt. So, just as a heads up, I'm going to be giving some slight spoilers for some lines and some dialogue from Jurassic World Rebirth because I just saw the film a couple of days ago. So bear with me, okay? I'm going to be sharing some spoilers, and there's going to be timestamps edited into the description of the video. So if you want to skip some of those parts so you don't get spoiled on the film, or if you want to just skip this video altogether, watch other videos on my channel, you're more than welcome to do so. And come back to it after you've seen Jurassic World Rebirth. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to talk about Rebirth. Now, it's been a long time since we had a Jurassic franchise installment. The last one was Jurassic World Dominion, and I skipped that. And there's a lot of reasons as to why I skipped Dominion, and one of them was the monster movie take on dinosaurs that was depicted in that film. There was also mention of locusts that had nothing to do with anything else. I don't know. That movie was a mess. So I'm glad I missed it. The last Jurassic World film that I saw several years back was Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. So I saw Fallen Kingdom a few years ago, and I'm a huge Jurassic Park fan. I mean, behind me we have The Lost World, a book that I got when I was a kid. I've been watching all the Jurassic films since they first came out in 1993. I watched Jurassic Park, not in the theater. I watched it at home, but I did. I was a kid, and I fell in love with Jurassic Park around 10 years old. So this influenced my writing. I mean, it influenced my novel, Jurassic Park. The novels themselves by Michael Crichton, the fantastic films by Steven Spielberg, Jurassic Park and The Lost World, both of which I have here on Blu-ray. You know, these are movies that I feel that you should watch, and those are books that I feel that you should read, or the original Jurassic Park and Jurassic Park The Lost World by Michael Crichton. Those two are excellent reads. If you have not read science fiction in a minute, those are good things to revisit. I will warn everybody that these books and these movies are not for a general audience, especially the books. Jurassic Park and The Lost World, both by Michael Crichton, have a lot of violent scenes. It's, in fact, more violent and more awful in Jurassic Park and The Lost World than in the film. So the films are actually very geared more towards kids than the actual books. The books are definitely more adult. So if you are an adult and you want to do some summer reading, there's some great reads for you to pick up. Michael Crichton series. Michael Crichton also did some excellent books. I may talk about those later on in other videos, but for right now, I want to focus on Jurassic Park because this franchise is near and dear to my heart. I've loved Jurassic Park ever since I was a kid, and I find that the latest installment is actually kind of a disappointment. And I know a lot of folks are saying that online, and I'm not just jumping on the bandwagon here. I chose to go see Jurassic World Rebirth over this 4th of July weekend here in the United States, and it was a movie. So I want to break down what it is that I liked about Jurassic World Rebirth before I get into what I disliked about it. And like I said in the start, this is going to have some spoilers. So just this is your last warning. If you don't want to watch a spoiler filled review, you're welcome to step away and watch something else another time. I also have timestamps, like I said, in the description box. We'll skip. So Jurassic World Rebirth. I saw the ads for Jurassic World Rebirth on TV on YouTube, and somehow I missed all the spoilery content. And that's probably because I've stepped away from a lot of paleontology fandom related stuff for a while. That's personal. I may talk about another stream, I may talk about another video, whatever. But for the time being, just know that I have not really seen a whole lot about Jurassic World Rebirth. And I'm glad that I didn't, because apparently the uh, trailers had a lot of spoilers for the actual film itself, which is in and of itself a bad sign. When the trailers for a movie give away too much, I feel that that's probably it doesn't leave a whole lot to the imagination. It doesn't leave a whole lot to be desired in terms of the film or the storytelling, and that's honestly not good when it comes to a Spielberg led effort, because that is the other thing that kind of shocked me. At the very end of the film, I found out that this was executive produced by Steven Spielberg, who again was one of my favorite directors and producers. He's done all kinds of film work over 40, 50 years. Gosh, long time, right? There's Jaws that's coming out soon too. They're doing the anniversary of that. It's 50 years of Jaws, for example, and that was one of his big breakthrough films. And I've watched a lot of his movies over time, and so that's why I was disappointed in this installment in the Jurassic franchise. Now, I call it the Jurassic franchise because I honestly feel that Jurassic Park, The Lost World, and yes, even Jurassic Park 3, Alan, even Jurassic Park 3, that movie, I'll talk about another thing. Um, Jurassic World, I feel that entire franchise stands on its own. It's actually a separate thing, I think, than Jurassic Park. I love Jurassic World, the first one, because there were so many funny references to Jurassic Park. They were very tongue in cheek. It was very sarcastic. It was hilarious, and how they there was for spoilers, if you haven't seen the original Jurassic World with Chris Pratt and his raptor taming situation, there was a character who wore a Jurassic Park T-shirt in the Jurassic World theme park. Anyway, it's very funny. If you have not seen Jurassic World, I do recommend that movie out of all the Jurassic Worlds that exist. So, getting back to Jurassic World Rebirth. So, it's been a minute since I've seen Jurassic World. Again, I count it as separate from Jurassic Park. So, Jurassic Park to me will always be this holy trinity of Jurassic Park The Lost World, and the last in the sequence, Jurassic Park 3. I tend to see those as Jurassic, and then Jurassic World is its own entity. And that's for good reason, because when I saw Jurassic World Rebirth, I'm glad that I did that in my mind, because Jurassic World Rebirth, let's talk about the good. First of all, it kind of erased. So Jurassic World Rebirth, it's like they took a giant pink pearl eraser and just rubbed away the fact that Jurassic World was a thriving theme park. Um, So apparently there's no theme park anymore. It's about the geneticists at NGen that somehow are still employed. I don't know. I didn't see Dominion, so to be fair, I don't really know exactly what led up to this. I don't think it's connected. Is the thing. I don't think Rebirth is connected to the previous Jurassic World films. I think they're trying to do a Jurassic Park 3 here. Whatever. So apparently it's been over 30 years between the events of the last Jurassic World movie and then this movie, because the movie actually tells us in the very beginning there is exposition literally typed out for us on the screen. When I saw that, I was like, okay. I started to lower my expectations substantially, and I settled in and watched the film. Um, so, suffice it to say, what I like about Jurassic World Rebirth, the onset locations. So the jungle environment, the beautiful like islands, the beach environment that they had here and there, the ocean environment, which was very much reminiscent of Jaws. I mean, my God, that was like practically. I would say about 2/3 of this movie was like a ripoff of Jaws. Anyway, so I'm sitting there. I'm like, all right. So they had some fantastic footage. I love the cinematography. I think it's beautiful. I think they did a really great job with some of the CGI. They had a couple of realistic-ish dinosaur creatures. Um, I will say that the opening scenes with the museum setting was all right. Um, Very much almost like the visitor center from Jurassic Park in that. There were so many Easter eggs too, and I think for someone that is a fan of the original Jurassic Park franchise, I think that's cool. Like that they put in, and they did this on purpose. I think this movie fed on the nostalgia of people for sure. I think this film was geared towards an audience that is already familiar with the Jurassic franchise, and in particular, trying to appeal to folks that are older. So I think that this film was trying to appeal to millennials uh, more so than kids. And I think that, I mean, it's an interesting strategy when you think about some of these franchises that have been running for so long. I mean, the Jurassic franchise, has now topped off at 7 films. That's a long franchise, okay? That's almost as long as the Land Before Time dinosaur franchise. That's like 20 films or whatever, right? It's a long series, or like Fast and Furious, and things like that. So I think when you're building a storyline like this, and you go from a couple of films to an epic saga, it is good to have those callbacks to say, hey, remember this? Like, this is why this is important. Or, haha, here's a funny thing that happened in the original film. Isn't that great? Now let's go back to the plot. I think that that has a time and a place in some of these types of films, but I feel that the majority of this movie was that. The majority of this movie was like, I mean, from the very beginning, it was a Snickers bar that was clearly advertised to us that caused the fallout of the collapse of a genetic industry like experimentation thing. Okay. So I gotta hand it to Spielberg. It was very funny in that way. There were funny moments like this throughout, and unfortunately, even the opening scene that resulted in a death, to me, that was actually kind of funny and sad at the same time. But it was funny, and okay, like I at that point, I started laughing, and I knew, okay, this movie is not to be taken too seriously, and I think that's good. It's good that people that put these movies together, they're trying really hard to make it seem like, don't take this too seriously, folks. Like, don't think this is like, this is not like John Wick or any other serious franchise. This is something that's like, it's meant to be goofy. It's meant to be silly. It's meant to be. It's a Jurassic movie, and I appreciate that. Okay, as someone that has that kind of sick, twisted sense of humor, it's good in that way. And I feel in that way it appealed to me. So that was the good of it. I like Jurassic World for that. I like the acting. It was actually very well done. Scarlett Johansson, a few of the other actors in that film. My goodness, they did a great job. The acting was good. Even in the family scenario, the acting was good. I will say, like the teenage boyfriend, I have an issue with him. I'll come back to that later. But I feel that this overall, it was a decent movie. It's fun. Like, if you don't really know much, I would say if you don't really know much about the Jurassic franchise and you're new to Jurassic Park and Jurassic World, and you just want to take yourself and your kids out for a fun movie, go see it. Like, go see it, go have fun. Like, it's fun. And I will say that in that way, it kind of feeds into the overall feeling of the Jurassic franchise. So in that way, the film succeeded, I think. The acting, like I said, was good. The dialogue was, like there were some major plot holes that I was not happy with. There were some moments that I felt, and I'm sure other folks that have seen this movie too there could be expansion on this, and maybe they're leaving this open ended because they want to pick up with other Jurassic movies. I don't know. Like, I feel that in all this movie, if you stopped watching the Jurassic series after this, you'd be fine. Like, I don't think this would be a bad way to send it off and be like, okay, we're done. This is it. This is our swan song. We're done with Jurassic, whatever. I'd be happy with that. Honestly, I would have been happy with that with Jurassic Park 3, but let's move on. Um, so Jurassic World, I think, in all, was a good film in that regard. But I want to talk a lot about the bad stuff, because there's some things here story wise, and there's some things here uh, just in general that bugged me a lot. One of those was just, I don't know if this movie really know the plots. Okay, so the tricky part about writing is that, and I know as a writer this happens. I'm currently writing the sequel to my novel, my dinosaur fantasy novel, Yara's Crossing, which is shown here in the background. And I've shown it here on my channel. When you write stories, when you write novels, or when you write books, or when you write scripts and screenplays and all that stuff, and you want to create a set of characters that undergo some kind of traumatic pathway and move through the plot to get to a resolution, generally speaking, the best movies are ones where you focus on maybe one or two characters at a time, And then you have some side characters that fall within the arc, maybe have their own side plots, but then eventually it all meshes together very nicely. And then by the end, there's a resolution and you're done. And the story concludes. I find that movies nowadays have so much of a lack of focus. And perhaps this is because we are in a day and age when everything online is like, it's got to be 30 seconds or less. You got to get your attention in 30 seconds, move on. And it's got to be flashy and it's got to be weird or it's got to be funny in a weird way. And then, people will like it and they'll like that kind of pace. I don't mind the slower pace of the Jurassic film franchise. I feel that this movie definitely took advantage of that, where it's like building up to something. But I feel that the buildup didn't pay off in the end. I feel that the buildup of this story, and I feel that there were so many loose ends in this film that I was like, who the heck am I supposed to root for? Because, and I think that's a problem. When you have too many characters, and this was the problem I had with Game of Thrones. I started reading George R. R. Martin's novels, Game of Thrones, and I stopped about midpoint through because there were just so many characters. I had to keep looking up who was who. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know who was important, and people kept dying. And I was like, okay, was that person critical to the storyline, or are they just some random person that died? I felt this way about the Jurassic movie that I sat through. Okay, Jurassic World Rebirth was like this. It has this problem where there's too many people, and you don't know where to shift the focus. And I feel like if this story had stuck with one major arc throughout, like if they had stuck with the fact that, okay, Scarlett Johansson's character, her focus was about the money. And if they're like, okay, it's about the money versus the heart, right? Because they literally brought up, spoiler alert, they literally brought up the fact that the dinosaurs, we'll get to that in a second too, are being used to help people with heart problems. That was the whole premise. Okay, that was the whole premise of this movie, was that they were trying to get the blood of the dinosaurs again. I said that loosely, okay, folks. Give me a second. That was the whole premise of this movie, in essence. But I think they lost the plot because there were so many aspects here that were all over the place in terms of character arc that I was like, wait, what happened to that? Where is the heart of this movie? I don't know. It's everywhere. It's everything everywhere all at once. You might as well put googly eyes on the mutant dinosaurs that came out. Because I don't know. I don't know who to focus on. I don't know what's important. And that's a problem when you're telling a story like this. I feel that the Jurassic franchise has succeeded in the past. The original Jurassic Park franchise, the reason why it succeeded is because the message in that movie was power and control, the illusion of that, in the face of natural disaster, in the face of nature, like, bringing dinosaurs back to life. It's a nature versus man kind of storyline. That was the intent of the Crichton novels. That was the intent carried through in the original Jurassic franchise. So when I'm watching this film and I'm sitting there as a writer going, what? That's not good. You don't want to lose your audience with too many characters, and I feel that this movie suffers from that substantially. I think the other issue is that yes, it's about the heart, and yes, family is indeed important, but I feel that if they had focused instead on just the main cast of characters going through all these horrible traumas with dinosaurs, etc., attacking them, then I would have felt something deeper when the end came. And I would have been like, yeah, they did it. They triumphed against this horrible menace of, corporate greed. Like, I didn't feel that way. I honestly didn't feel that way. And that's disappointing because I think that was the message that was trying to be sent to us. But it just missed the mark. And I think, I love the performance of the folks that were in the family in the movie. I think all those folks did a fantastic job. I'm not going to bash on the actors themselves. I just think that the direction that was taken was not in line with Spielberg's vision. I think that that's what happened. And this happens a lot. When we want to take a script and we want to translate, from past iterations of a project that's gone on so long, it's so tough to not get lost in the sauce. And that's what this movie does. It gets lost in the sauce. In addition, this applies to the dinosaurs themselves. And I think that's sad. Because the whole reason why I got into paleontology is because I love Jurassic Park. And that may sound silly to some folks. Now, suffice it to say, I read about dinosaurs before I read Jurassic Park, of course. Dinosaurs were my first love of my life when I started reading years and years and years ago when I was 4 years old. I was obsessed with dinosaurs as a kid. And when Jurassic Park came out, it was like, blew my mind. But here's the problem that this movie faces, and that is that it's no longer accurate to dinosaur paleontology whatsoever. In the opening sequences of this film, they have a mosasaurus and a quetzalcoatlus that they're trying to hunt down. And a dinosaur paleontologist dude says, "Oh, those are dinosaurs." And I'm sitting here going, "Excuse me? No! What are you doing, movie? Where are we going with this? This is not correct." They have lost the plot. And we're not even 15 minutes in. This is bad. I was very upset because we went from the Jurassic franchise, the reason why I love Jurassic Park so much, still today, all these decades later, is because it was scientifically accurate. So the dinosaurs in the films, for the time at which those films were released, were portrayed in a more accurate way. That there was science guiding the fiction. This is not happening in this movie at all whatsoever, okay? Just throwing that out there. These are messed up dinosaurs, first of all. Mutated dinosaurs. I mean, xenomorph what? What is this thing? I don't know. It looks like, it felt like the first 10 minutes of this movie felt like Alien. I was in there going, what movie is this? I don't know. Okay. And then it showed the Jurassic Park logo. I'm like, all right, I'll go with it. I don't know what the hell this is, right? It felt like Alien. It didn't even, you had people walking around in hazmat suits while they were prepping PCR for genetic data. I'm just like, I'm so confused. I don't know what's happening. I've worked in those kinds of labs, folks. I've worked in PCR type labs. You don't have to dress down in a hazmat suit to handle genetic material. Sure, you have to wear PPE, but you don't have to go nuts. And so, so right then and there, I was like, okay, I'm going to try and suspend my disbelief and not get mad. Don't get mad. Don't get mad, I kept telling myself. And then they showed the museum sequence. And then they talked about mosasaurs and a pterosaur being dinosaurs. And I was upset. I was genuinely upset for the rest of the movie. Because those are not dinosaurs, folks. I'm going to clear this right now. Okay, as a person that studied dinosaur paleontology, and I have a master's degree, okay, I want to let y'all know right here, right now, a mosasaurus is an aquatic reptile. It's more related to a monitor lizard, okay, than a dinosaur. A pterosaur is a flying reptile. It is not related to a dinosaur. It's more related to any other reptile than any dinosaur. Okay, that's it. So a pterosaur is not, nuh-uh. These are different animals. And when you say these are dinosaurs, I got upset. The other thing was that they specifically said, we have to get the largest creatures on this planet for this heart medication. I'm thinking, do you? Do you have to get the largest creatures? You could have, I don't know. We don't know. See, here's the interesting thing too about the science of dinosaur hearts, because we do have a specimen that does have an impression of the chambers of the heart, and it is a smaller animal. So why would we have to? Anyway, there's so much wrong with this movie. It's deeply upsetting to me as a scientist. I'm sitting there going, no. So, wacky premise aside, okay, their goal is to get this heart medicine from these animals, and so they have to go out into the field and capture them. So Scarlett Johansson basically reprises the role of Robert Muldoon from Jurassic Park, but she's the clever girl. So basically, they go on this expedition for millions and millions of dollars, apparently, because that's all Scarlett Johansson's character cares about. She just wants the money. And I'm thinking, okay, but you had death in your family. and yet all you think about is the money. You had someone close to you in a campaign that you did previously die, and yet all you want is the money, and you just want to, you're just doing one last job, just one last hurrah. What are you, like the John Wick of dinosaurs? Like, I don't know, I'm confused. Like, I'm like, what is happening? It is awful. This is legitimately terrible, because the motivation, once again, is lost. I could feel for these characters more if we focused on them more from the beginning. Instead of throwing in there dialogue wise, oh, this happened to me in a moment, why don't you focus on Scarlett Johansson's character from the beginning and how she lost, like, instead of the Snickers bar mutation scene, why didn't they have a scene with her, like, and her compatriot, like, facing down some evil, I don't know, some dinosaur evil, and then dying, and then, oh shit, this is why I'm doing this. Because I want revenge for what happened to my partner in crime, or not crime, or I don't know. Like, I don't know what they're doing. It was never made clear. Like, I was like, are they mercenaries? Are they, like, again, is it like they're hitmen? Like, I don't know what's happening. Like, I was confused. And that's bad. When you write a story, you want to make it very clear. This is what my character does for a living. This is how my character is connected to these other characters. This is how they have depth. This is how they have emotion. This is how they show emotion. It's all telling. There's no show. And this deeply disappoints me because I'm like, it's a movie. It's all show. You are showing people the story. So what? Something bad happened here. The writing was lost. The director's vision was off. The producing was not taken into account. It was just, it was clearly a cash grab. If anything, when they mentioned money, I'm thinking, yeah, I'm spending my money watching this movie. And for what? Right? And I think that's not good. Because I love, speaking of heart, I love the Jurassic franchise. I loved it because, like I said, it had that scientific basis, even though it was a fictional story. And this story does not do the previous iterations justice whatsoever. This story is so off the mark, I don't even know what I'm watching. In fact, like I said earlier, about 2/3 of this movie is Jaws with a mosasaur. I I don't I don't know. Like, I was like, what is this? Is this Jurassic? I don't know. Because you could have substituted the mosasaur for, like, I don't know, Moby Dick, a vengeful whale or some shit, and it would have made more sense to me. Like, this, call it, I don't know, call it Jaws 5. I don't know. Like, this movie, I just, I don't know. This movie was not good in terms of carrying the tradition that way through. And it's interesting too, because, spoiler alert, there was a scene where the scientist in the movie outright said to the audience, okay, dinosaurs don't matter anymore. And I'm thinking, sir, this is a Jurassic Park movie. You are, dinosaurs were your focus in your life, and you were saying that dinosaurs do not matter. And I'm like, we're done. I think this movie has lost the concept, lost the plot. It's gone. It's gone. I couldn't watch. I couldn't watch it seriously from that point forward. I understand the message that they were trying to send, which was about climate change and about how the dinosaurs that were still around, they couldn't survive anywhere else. They can only survive in the equatorial region. Okay, I can buy that. Because in the Lost World by Michael Crichton, that was the emphasis. In the book series, yeah, I mean that was the reason why they confined the dinosaurs to those islands of Isla Sorna and Isla Nublar and all that stuff, because in Costa Rica area, because the equatorial temperature is high enough, and we thought that at the time the dinosaurs needed that high temperature to keep their metabolism going, right? That most reptiles, because they're cold-blooded, they rely on the heat from the sun and the rocks that are heated by the sun to keep them moving, literally. They need that high temp in order for their bodies to expend the energy necessary so they can eat, and then they slowly digest, and then they rest, and then they go on. It's a different thing than a warm-blooded animal. And I think, again, this is interesting because it goes back to an understanding of science from, like, I don't know, decades ago. And yet it completely disregards the fact that mosasaurs and pterosaurs are not dinosaurs and says that they are. And I'm like, no, you can't do this. You're reverting. We are going backwards. It's already bad enough that studies show that people are not reading anymore, that kids are not learning how to read, that they're learning how to tap on a screen and scroll through the latest TikTok video or YouTube video like this one. By the way, feel free to share, comment, subscribe. Literary individuals out there, if you're literate, thank you. Please. I'm just like, no. And then they're telling people that, because here's the sad part. The sad truth is, when folks see a dinosaur movie, they're going to take that to heart. They're going to say that that's real. They're taking it to heart. They're literally going to do that. They're going to say, this is what dinosaurs are about. And when you tell the public in your movie that number one, dinosaurs don't matter, and number two, these are dinosaurs. Oh, wait, surprise, they're not actually dinosaurs. People are going to be confused. They're going to be like, so what's the point of this movie? Because I was sitting there thinking that. And that's not good. That is not, again, it's just not good storytelling. And it's deeply disappointing because Spielberg movies to me have always held that balance point between realism and fantasy. They've always had that wonder, that magic, that good gripping storytelling because they do hit you in the heart. There are moments that bring tears to your eyes. And there was only one moment in this whole movie where that happened. And that was when, spoiler alert, the scientists touched the titanosaur's leg and literally started sobbing and like freaking out. That to me was a moment that I'm like, why the hell didn't they expand on that? I'm like, it's Jurassic movie. What? Why are we going after pterosaurs and mosasaurs when you've got like a pantheon of dinosaurs, terrestrial dinosaurs, right there in the freaking jungle? What are we doing? I was like, what are we doing? And then they had the mutant things. So I want to talk about that last because, listen. Mutant dinosaurs have been a thing since Jurassic World. Okay, so that was a thing. That was the premise of Jurassic World, was that InGen went nuts and they decided to crossbreed dinosaurs together to make the ultimate predator dinosaur or whatever bullshit. I don't know. And then, they tamed raptor dinosaurs like dogs. Anyway. So Jurassic World, that was the premise. Completely separate from Jurassic Park, because Jurassic Park, once again, the emphasis was on, we want to resurrect them as living animals, right? And keep them as, living creatures on a preserve in the equatorial region. That was their goal. That was their mission with making the theme park. And I went nuts because you can't control nature. That was the whole premise of Jurassic Park franchise. Jurassic World franchise took that idea and took it to the extreme, like very 90s fashion, and decided to mutate the dinosaurs, do a little chaos theory thing, and mix them up and see what happens. FAFO, fuck around and find out. That's basically what Jurassic World was about. So, Jurassic World Rebirth said, okay, let's have some of that in there too. Don't forget, we mutated these dinosaurs. And I was like, what? Like, again, the mutant dinosaur thing did not even play into the main plot line. So I was like, huh? I was lost. I was confused. This is not the way, again, to have a film. and by the end, when they brought back the mutant dinosaurs, I was like, why? And they even had new ones. And I was like, what are these? Like, there was no introduction to them. They just show up. Are they integral to the plot? Who cares? They're just there. Remember the scene from Raptors in the Kitchen? We're going to redo it. Remember the scene from the T-Rex breakout? We're going to redo it. Oh, remember the video game when you had to run on the raft and you had to avoid the T-Rex? We're going to do that too. So they did their best to appeal to a millennial audience, but what they forgot was how to tell a story that was cohesive. Like I said, it was all over the place, and by the end I was like, where's the payoff? How am I supposed to feel for any of these characters. Like, in the end, it felt so rushed and so strange that I was like, huh? I was like, what happened to these animals? What happened? What? There was no, there was really no resolution, and the end was pretty much a ripoff of the original Jurassic Park ending. So I was like, I, I don't, I left going, I don't know how to feel. I don't know who to root for. I don't know how to feel. Do I root for the dinosaurs? I mean, do I root for the mutant dinosaurs? I mean, what do I do? Like, I didn't even feel sorry for them. I was supposed to, I think. I think I was supposed to feel sorry for the mutant dinosaurs. And I never did. I just thought they were some weird accessory dinosaur that just showed up and then died. I was like, all right, cool. Uh, what? Why? What's the point again? Like, I don't know. Like, I think sections of this movie could actually have been taken out and be made into their own series. I think that the family scene with the T Rex, that could have been its own short. That could have been its own standalone film. And I think that the Scarlett Johansson plotline should have been built on a lot more. And because she was the main character. And I was like, okay, so if this is the main character, what is her motivation? What's driving her besides money? What is her actual motivation? Because money can't be enough, right? And that maybe was should have been the message, and it wasn't, because by the end of the movie, I was like, they get the money anyway. So I'm like, what? I was like, so then there's no point, right? So they risked all their lives and people died and they went through all this trauma and they had all these awful things happen to them. And in the end, there was no lesson. There was no moral. There was no, yeah, this is why, dinosaurs are awesome, or this is why dinosaurs suck. Like, there was, I was just like, dinosaurs just exist. They just exist now. We just, we just use their bodies for our own bodies, I guess. Like that, and then and then the end. I was like, huh? Like, hmm. At least in the Jurassic Park franchise, when those films ended, it was very clear that we should not be recreating dinosaurs. Period. End of story. Because when you fuck around and find out too much, everything goes to shit. That was basically the message of Jurassic Park. Jurassic World tried to carry that message through. It stuttered, right, by the end. And now I'm like, I don't even know what the message is anymore. What is the message? Nostalgia? Go buy our stuff, go watch our movie because remember this scene? Yeah. That was what I felt this was. And I was deeply disappointed in that because I expected far more from a Spielberg film than a cash grab like this that was blatant. I mean, it felt like the Matrix Resurrections of the Jurassic franchise. I gotta be honest with you. That's what this felt like. I love Matrix Resurrections for the way in which the characters are reintroduced. It was respectful to a point to the original characters. But again, it was the same problem where you had too many characters thrown in there, and you're like, who am I supposed to root for? Am I supposed to root for Neo and Trinity getting back together, or am I supposed to root for this new cast of people? I felt like that about this movie. I was like, who's important? What message is critical here? Because the useless boyfriend trope pissed me off too. Like, I was like, if this message is about love and the heart and stuff, and this dad is having problems with this teenage guy, like hitting on being with his teenage daughter, or clearly having sex, and I don't know how old these kids are. Problem, I don't know how old these kids are. And then they're talking about like smoking pot and shit, and I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me? What movie is this? What are we doing? Who is this for? And I find that with recent movies, I keep walking out of the theater thinking, who is this for? And why should I care? And that is not good. Because when you write stories, the goal is to get people to not just understand your vision overall, not just to understand the creative static images on the screen that are now translated into moving images. The goal is to have that depth of emotion and bring that out in a person. So when you leave the theater, you're in tears, or you want to journal about it, or you go to your therapist and like, holy shit, this movie wrecked me. Good. That is what you need to do. You need to feel, and I think that so many of these movies lack that. There's no feeling. It's all about the money. And it's even thrown in there in the freaking movie. Like, they say it point blank. They're like, this is a cash grab. This is why we're doing this. And you are a schmuck sitting there in the theater giving us your money. And I'm like, no. This was not the intention of filmmakers. This is never the intention of creativity. And I think we have strayed so far off the map. We are not even in Jurassic World territory anymore. I don't know where the hell we are. And I feel like that's bad because I think that, I think that this was definitely more of a swan song than anything else. That's what it felt like to me. And I feel like, Jurassic World, Jurassic Park, I think the original Jurassic Park movies, there's no movie that could ever replace them in my heart. I love the Jurassic franchise. And I'm going to ask you right now, movie makers, where the hell is that? Writers, what the fuck are you doing? If you're that underpaid, Jesus Christ, we need to strike again. Because holy shit, guys. Where is it? Where is the heart in this movie? It's gone. Where is it? What are we reaching for here? What do people, I mean, I think the goal of a movie is to go out and to see it and to be changed in some way, to be touched in some way, in an emotional level. And we're not doing that. Or make you think. This movie didn't make me think. I was just like, this is like, this movie is like a typical, don't think about it, just watch it. Just screen grab, we're done. It's like the TikTok of movies now. You just have the movie on there, 30 seconds blip, 30 seconds blip, 30 seconds blip, 30 seconds blip, and there's no cohesive story. The characters, there's no emotion. If there is emotion, it's fleeting. There's no depth. It's all shallow surface, just like the mosasaurs swimming around attacking that boat. There was no depth. There was no, God, why? Why are we doing this? And the question was even asked by Scarlett Johansson's character in the movie halfway through, and I'm thinking, yeah, good damn question. Why the fuck are we doing this? And there was no definitive answer from the antagonist, from the film. There was no answer. It was just like, just because, good luck. It's like, what? Why risk your life for something and have it not even turn out in the end? And I think maybe that would have even been a better premise for this whole franchise. I don't know. I don't know. I'm sitting there going, damn. I feel that this movie, there's so many changes that, and maybe someday I will direct a movie. Maybe someday I'll produce a movie. Fuck, maybe someday I'll be in the movies. I don't know. I'd love to. I love writing. I love telling stories. I love telling stories with heart, with energy, with emotion. And where this is so lacking now. And no wonder people don't want to go to the movies. No wonder people just want to sit at home and watch it from TV. Because you're going to forget about it anyway. I think you need to pull people in and hold them there. Where is that magic? It's gone. How do we get it back? And maybe that's something that, I'm writing about in my story. So my story, Yours Crossing and Your Descendants, is basically pulling on that heartstring. It's saying, hey, we have this weird entity happening here, this bizarre magic that we cannot explain. And there's a group of dinosaurs that are like, yeah, we just gotta follow the rules. We just gotta follow this magic. And then my lead character, Yara, is like, why? Why the fuck do we have to? Do we have to? What if we don't? And then what? Is everything going to collapse? Is the world going to end? We'll find out. Will the world end? When the magic dies, does the world end? And that's my question, currently. Is like, I feel that this film, again, was a send-off more so than anything else. Jurassic World Rebirth is more like, not really Rebirth. They should have called it, I think they were going to call it Extinction initially. And that actually would have been a better title for this movie, because that's basically what it is. This movie basically talks about the extinction of the dinosaurs. It talks about the extinction of not only the theme park dinosaurs, but also the extinction of life on Earth. And I'm like, why the hell didn't they just stick with that? I would have watched that. I'd be like, all right, this is the premise. This is what we're going for. And if they had focused on just a few key characters and went through, I feel that this is the pattern that I'm seeing with Hollywood movies now and in the 2020s, and I don't think it's a good pattern. And I think we need to go back to the source. We really do. We need to go back to that source and that feeling. And so once more with feelings, Steven Spielberg. Let's try it again. You know, and it disappoints me to say that to the man because I love his movies so much because they have heart, because they make me cry, because they give me that sense of emotion. They give me that sense of feeling. Where the fuck is that? It's gone. This movie is about death. This movie is about destruction. That is all this movie's about. If you're going to this movie for, you know, anything beyond that, if you're going to this movie for any sort of real feeling besides TikTok dinosaur mutation bullshit, you're not in the right movie. Make that yourself. And that's what I'm doing. I'm making my own story that has depth, that has emotion, that pulls at the reader in ways that I feel is so lacking now. We need that. So I know this was a rant and it was meant to be a review, but damn it, man. I wanted to like this movie. I really did. I wanted to say this was a good send off to the Jurassic franchise. And to be perfectly honest with you, it's not. It's decent as a movie, but it doesn't do the original films or even the Jurassic World films that came before any justice. And again, that's not to knock on any of the actors themselves. They're not at fault. It's the writing. It's the writing. It's the direction. It's that team that's integral to filmmaking. And it's lacking. And people, we need help. Hollywood needs help. And I think, you know, the more of these movies that I see, the more that there's this quiet cry of help. Because that magic is gone. And it's being replaced by corporate greed. And if anything, that's what Jurassic World Rebirth is all about. So if you want to keep feeding into the greed machine, watch the movie. If you don't, watch Jurassic Park. Watch Jurassic Park franchise. Get the DVDs. Don't stream. Get the DVDs. You know, read the books for crying out loud. The books are excellent. If you want to spend a Saturday, I should have spent my Saturday rereading Jurassic Park. And that's my walk in the park on this movie. So thank you so much for watching this video. It got a little bit unhinged. But again, I cannot express to you enough just how much I love Jurassic Park, and I love the dinosaurs, and I love the way that the original movie was, and this movie is, it doesn't compare. Like, you can't. You can't compare Jurassic World Rebirth to any of the other Jurassics, and in some ways that's okay. I mean, in other ways, yeah, nostalgia is a hell of a drug, but the hit is not going to carry you through to the next big hit on the silver screen. It's not going to do it. You got to have more to it. And until that time comes, I hope the future Jurassic installments are better. But hey, thanks so much for watching this video. Feel free to like, comment, share, and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed to my channel already, please do so. I really appreciate all the recent subscribers. I appreciate all the views. If you want to watch my gameplay, I'm going to be playing more Shadow Generations and more Sonic games on my Twitch stream coming up here very soon. I'm also going to be going over my book, Euros Crossing, about dinosaur fantasy. So if that teaser that I gave to here in this video appeals to you in any way, feel free to check it out and support your independent artists and support folks that are, you know, putting in good effort for good stories. So thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.